Number one, and this is the biggest problem, they're not very good. Number two, and this is obviously a byproduct of number one, they're not very consistent. And maybe or as distressing, this is more of an emotional thing. The New York Knicks are really not very likable anymore.
What do you mean by likable?
Not where we dislike them, but the bloom's officially off the rose from last year. It's over. It's over. It's time to deal with reality. You've got about 13, 14 days to get this thing right. You got to make trades, blow apart the roster. This team is going nowhere.
Look, they're unlikable because they make mistakes at the most inopportune times. And whether it was Julius Randle getting ripped and taking the ball stolen away from him and going the other way when he's just standing there trying to back into the paint from 15 feet away, or it's untimely misses, it's poor defense. Mitchell Robinson's fifth foul was just utterly pointless. And then all of a sudden you got to throw in Taj Gibson. They both end up fouling out, trying to be tough on Karl-Anthony Towns. And Karl-Anthony Towns actually took it to him the entire night.
Future Nick.
I mean, it's a poorly constructed team because guys who shouldn't be handling the ball are handling the ball way too much.
You're right. I mean, because there's no pure point guard. And listen, we all love Derrick Rose, but that's a Band-Aid. And obviously Derrick Rose is hurt. Well, that's what I'm saying. But even when he's healthy, it's a Band-Aid.
Well, Kimba's actually really good at it. The problem is when before Christmas, you play Kimba 40 minutes a game, 3 games in a row, and he misses 9 games.
But you got to know what you were getting, and his medical history was very well chronicled. That knee was an issue.
Yeah.
And now it's not a lot. You know what I mean? It's not a lot of money, so it's not like it's impossible to get away from.
But I don't care about the money. I care about the production.
No,
I care about the availability.
That's true. No, right. that is the most important thing. I only say that because in a salary cap, you know what it is? I always feel compelled because for the last 20 years, the Knicks have been outside of, 1 or 2 good years, last year being one of the 2. They've brought us on this ridiculous ride of finances where it's almost like not only do we have to dissect the roster, but we've got to make sure that the finances are in order because they're always distorted, and they haven't been. And that's why I make sure I point that out. I'm not trying to get on the air and saying, oh, this is the end of the world. The Knicks have no shot. Get rid of this. No, I'm not saying to fire anybody. What I am saying is this team is no longer. Listen, I still watch every game, but you know that. But, man, last year I couldn't wait to watch these kids. They were playing with purpose, with pride, with moxie, with resilience. And now, last night, this is why I'm so bothered by last night. They played horrendously the day before against the Hornets without ball. On Martin Luther King Day, everybody plays Martin Luther King Day games. Now, Knicks played, going back to 1990 when I was there at the Trent Tucker game, which I told you. So there's got to be a modicum of pride associated with that game, not to mention a team that you probably have to beat if you want to avoid the play-in or even get to the play-in. I know Hornets are good, but without ball, win the game. They get drilled. They play horrible. They just lackluster. They just sleepwalk through the game. And then I said, okay, that happens every couple of games in the 82-game slate. That is the NBA. But if this team had any hope, last night they would have come out. They would have jumped on the T-Wolves, who are a little talented, but young, on the road. Instead, they get smacked around in the first half. They need to score 40 points when the T-Wolves become disinterested in the third quarter, and they whittle away the score. And then, of course, once the game is tied and they're right there, then they start throwing the ball away like a hot potato, missing free throws and missing a wide-open 3 by Burks, who would have won it. And, the first half, 13 turnovers. They're just... You have to listen. We always say, Tiki, when somebody tells you or shows you who they are, believe them.
Yeah.
Don't try to interpret or read the leaves or creatively reevaluate who they are. The Knicks are going nowhere, so act now.
Yeah, you have to act now. And BT and you and I were looking at the potential trades. There's only one that really makes sense, and that's Ben Simmons.
I think there's 2.
You got Ben Simmons, who has been a malcontent down in Philadelphia, hasn't played at all this season. Yes, I know he's got his shooting woes, but I think if he can be the ball handler, and I keep coming back to that because of all of the turnovers that we saw in this game, especially in the first half, BT, and I see Julius Randle bringing the ball up the court consistently. He gets up. He doesn't know what
I'm so tired.
He doesn't know what to do when he's up when he gets the ball. When he gets into the half court, and so he ends up just pounding it into the ground, just over and over. All right, maybe I'll give this up. Give it back to me. And then he doesn't know what to do. Right. So they need ball handlers, and that's why a point guard, even one who doesn't shoot, is necessary. by the way, you're going to get great defense with Ben Simmons as well. The other options aren't great. Karis LeVert, he's available potentially for the Pacers. He's very, very inefficient. He doesn't make much sense. Eric Gordon, he's more just a shooter, just a spot up at this point. He's 33 years old. There's just not a ton of other options out there.
I hear you.
And the one that makes an unbelievable amount of sense is Ben Simmons. Now, the question is, what's Daryl Morey going to ask for Ben Simmons?
Yep.
But if I'm the Knicks, I need to find a way to get a ball handler. He seems the most available one.
I'm making the call, dude. And by the way, if they haven't made the call, then something's wrong. That call should have been made already, at least a cursory level conversation. Kick the tires. So, listen, I don't know what to tell you here at 877-337-6666. We all want, outside of the net fans, we all want the Knicks to do well. We want the Knicks to flourish, and we wanted the Knicks to take the logical next step, even though many of us knew that last year was certainly a bit of an overachievement. And while it was a galvanizing ride, we couldn't really base our future expectations on a 72-game COVID pandemic-driven season where everything went right. But here's the other end of the equation. And I want to get on Thibs for a moment here. All right, now, you and I were talking before the show. We understand, and this applies to Joe Judge as well, because the GM did a horrendous job, and he's now gone. Because Gettleman was awful at his job, and Reese was awful at his job at the end, outside of, very good start for Reese, but then he was bad. All of the Giant coaches were dealt, bad cards, and you try to play poker, and, this guy's got pocket aces, this guy's got a couple of queens. The Giants and really the Jets have had like an unsuited 3 and an 8. Good luck with that. Maybe you pull a 5, 6, 7, and you give yourself a chance to win. No, you're not going to win too many hands that way. So I get it. You can only coach what you have. But one colossal mistake that Tom Thibodeau's done this year, and I have not said this yet, but I cannot emphasize this enough. He has treated an intermittently good player like a superstar, and that's Julius Randle. Because of the way Randle played last year, which is the complete outlier to his career, we know this by now, it's a complete anomaly. He has given him this latitude, this freedom to work through these nightly, 2, 3, 4 minute stenches where he's completely invisible and disinterested and lazy. You got to sit his ass on the bench. That's what Tom Thibodeau's got to do. Sit down, okay? You're not playing 40 minutes because you're dragging your behind up and down the court, and you're dribbling aimlessly into a double team. Sit down. Toppin, you're playing 30 minutes. I don't care what you did last year, Randall. We love what you did, but this is a new year, and you ain't bringing it. Sit down.
Yeah, the challenge.
And he doesn't do it.
Well, he doesn't do it because he doesn't trust Obi Toppin.
Well, then that's on Thibs'. Then I got a real problem with
He doesn't trust Obi Toppin to be defensively sound.
Coach him up. You're a great defensive coach.
I don't disagree.
The guy runs and he jumps out of the gym. Coach him up.
And by the way, he's not going to get defensively sound if he doesn't know how to get defensively sound.
That's true.
By doing it, making mistakes, and then being corrected on it. And so he plays Julius Randle. Julius Randle, look, I think it was in the third, maybe it was in the fourth, where he got stolen. He got Patrick Beverly stole it from him.
He stripped him at top.
Yeah, but he chased it down and he blocked it at the other side. It was like, all right, that's the play. But the point is, don't lose it in the first place, right?
Correct.
Know your limitations. And I think that's where you get frustrated with Julius Randle and what Tom Thibodeau allows him to get away with. Now, Obi Toppin is, again, we talked about him yesterday, BT, but he's not a great shooter. Right? He's not going to be a spot-up guy for you. So you got to put him down in the post, and you got to play a different style of offense, which I don't know if they're comfortable with.
It's called the pick and roll.
I agree, but I mean,
get him away from the corner.
In order to run the pick and roll, you got to have a great ball-handling point guard.
Which is why he plays well with Derrick Rose.
That's exactly right.
I get it.
And Kemba Walker, I mean, I'm assuming Tibbs is not going to make the same mistake and play him 40-something minutes a game, so he played 30 minutes last night. But when he comes off the court, who's handling the ball?
I hear you.
Right? So like, you can talk about all these things.
Give it to McBride.
And you realize how poorly constructed the playing roster is. Now, you mentioned McBride. I don't know. I haven't seen him enough.
I know he plays defense because if you don't play defense, you ain't playing for Bobby Huggins out there in West Virginia.
That's a good point, but we haven't seen him enough.
Well, maybe I want to see him. I want to see him. We've seen him in little spurts, and I like what I've seen. We've seen from Grimes.
What do you want from the Knicks this year?
What do I want from
you want
the
the
Knicks?
postseason,
Here's what
or
I want.
do you want competence,
Okay.
or do you want consistency? Like,
Can
what
I
do you
have
want?
both? Can I be a little greedy and for once have competence? And like last year, will I get competence and the postseason? You know what? That's a great question. Let me dial it down for 2 seconds. Let me actually think about that before I just blurt something out. So my partner just asked me, and we'll ask you by extension, what do you want from the Knicks? 877-337-6666. What I want from the Knicks, okay? Like, I can sit here and I want the playoff. No, you know what? It's so much more beyond that. I want to know that at the end of this season, that the future is set up in a way that is sustainable and less reliant on Band-Aids and stopgaps. And those Band-Aids and stopgaps are Kemba Walker, Alec Burks, Taj Gibson, who I respect.
Yeah.
Respect him a ton. I mean, I respect all those guys.
Of course you do. Evan Fournier.
Yeah, you know what? I don't need Fournier to go. I need Fournier to play like he's starting to play a little bit more. I'm not looking to get rid of Fournier. If you get rid of him in a trade, that's fine. But like the over-reliance on guys who are not going to be here in a year or whenever the Knicks actually take that next step, that is what I want from this season. That's what I want. And, you know, here's the other conundrum here. We get back to our boy R.J. Barrett, whom we unlocked, and we might have to unlock him again. Last night, okay, is the kind of game from R.J. Barrett that really gives you pause, really makes you wonder. As much as we were loving this ride since we unlocked him, right? Last night, free throws, 50%, 3 out of 6. Overall, 6 out of 16, awful. Couple of air balls. From downtown, 2 out of 7, horrendous. 7 turnovers. You know, just didn't look like a great athlete. Got rejected at the rim a few times. Like, that's as much as I really like R.J. Barrett. I do go back and forth a little bit. Like, that's the kind of game that makes me worry.
R.J. Barrett, though, I can forgive because he's 21 years old and he's just learning how to be a reliable star. Not a superstar. He's just he's learning right now how to be a reliable star and realize that you're going to have some bad nights here and there, but it can't be that bad.
I'm okay with bad nights, bad shooting nights, even a little sloppy with the ball. I get that, but again, maybe I needed to be more specific. There are still alarming athletic deficiencies that I see from R.J. Barrett, even on good nights.
Yeah, there was in the first half, he had not a loose ball, but he had a fast break-ish opportunity. He picked it up, got some urgency, went towards the hoop, took two steps, got lost, charge, turnover. Yeah. He just didn't know.
Not very fast.
He didn't know what he wanted to do in that moment, and he got an offensive foul.
Yeah, it's over. I mean, we can drag this thing on into February. Hey, you know, maybe the Knicks can recap. They're going to recapture nothing because now they've got a West Coast trip.
Not without changing the roster.
Not without changing the roster. All right, let's hear from you. What do you think? And Tiki asked a very simple but a very important question. What do you really? And this has proven very evasive. I don't know that we've ever gotten I gave you my answer. I want direct knowledge in terms of what the future will look like next year. But I don't know that question's ever been boiled down to its simplest form. That's a good way to ask it. We always talk about this, talk around it. But what do we want from these Knicks? Let's hear from Jeff and Patterson up first on the Fan. Jeff, what's going on, buddy?
Hey, first time, long time.
Appreciate you, man.
Why don't the Knicks just run pick and roll in the end of the game? It don't make sense.
Yeah, because they don't have a point. They don't have a ball handler that you can trust to not make the mistake. You know what I mean? And that's kind of what we've been getting at. Is the point. Derrick Rose is great. He's not available.
He's also 33.
And he's 33, right? Kemba Walker is great, but you can only play him 35 minutes or so.
I'm talking about the end of the game, though. Set the pick and roll up. You got Fournier in the corner. Don't put the ball in Barrett's hand. That's the last thing you should do.
Yeah.
He's like an accident waiting to happen. I mean, just put him in the corner.
But who are you rolling? But Jeff, who's rolling for you? Like last night, I mean, Mitchell Robinson fouled out.
I was going to say, yeah.
Obi Toppin, they don't want to give him any minutes. Taj Gibson is way too old to do that. So who are you rolling with?
I don't know, because Mitchell Robinson looks like he's out of gas after the first quarter.
You know, Jeff, it's funny you say that. And listen, Mitchell Robinson's played well this year, very well. He looks like he's going to, God forbid, drop dead from exhaustion after one trip up the court. Like he's grabbing his shorts. He looks like he's so out of shape.
But he was working, though. He was working against Cat. Now, by the way, Karl Anthony Towns is a heavy man.
Yes, he is.
He's not a skinny, big who can knock down 3-pointers if you give him space. He is a heavy dude who wants to get into the post and shake you up, bang you into you. And Mitchell Robinson weighs, what, 205 pounds?
No, more than that. But there's a disparity there for sure.
It's at least a 20-pound, maybe 30-pound weight difference between those guys. I think he was trying, man.
But every night he looks exhausted.
I know, but
and
I'm
every
just
night
saying,
he usually plays well, but it's an interesting observation.
Last night in particular, you could tell he was trying to work his ass off.
Oh, I'm going to give him a pass. Carl Anthony is an all-star, like a legitimate all-star. 877-337-6666. So Teak wants the Ben Simmons angle, or at least wants to explore it. I'm okay with that conversation. I got a better name for you, though. I'll lay it on you coming up next, and we'll continue asking the question, what do we want from these Knicks? Boil it down. Listen, don't call us up and say, don't regurgitate what we already know. All right, let's at least push it forward here. We know what they have. I think maybe more specifically, Teak, we know what they don't have. And I really do think, this I think we need to explore more thoroughly. We have to get into the coach. You could have a conversation about a coach without, being over the top and saying he's got to be fired. I'm certainly not saying that. But Tom Thibodeau has not done a good job this year. And I think he needs to be a central part of the conversation. Tiki and Tierney up until 2.